Mystery. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope we are still catching all the excitement of this conference so far. I believe that we are delivering unquestionable value every single hour. Our next presentation is coming from Roesch from Kinesis. Kinesis is a project that I have the privilege of being the advisory board for West Africa. I always believe that good products sell itself. I don't make so much noise about that product because it's a product that guarantees people's future. And in this presentation, Christian will be showing a whole lot of efforts that Kinesis is bringing into the blockchain system to create an alternative financial system that anyone, anywhere in the world can leverage. Christian is the head of Africa operation for Kinesis. Christian, this is your moment. You're online.
Thank you, Shemezi. Thank you very much for having me online, and hello to everyone around the world in Africa. It's certainly a privilege to be online. And Shemezi, I just want to thank you for your hard work regarding blockchain in Africa, being an advocate, for what's going on in the space, and also creating awareness around, how this space is changing people's lives and how we can utilize the space to change people's lives. I'm not sure, can everyone see my screen or not?
Go ahead, we can see the screen.
Can you see the screen? Okay.
Yeah, we can see the screen. Go ahead. Yeah.
Great stuff. So, as Shemezi mentioned, I'm the head of Africa operations for Kinesis.Money, which is a remarkable platform, and also in a platform that hopes to engage with the larger audience within the African landscape. I'm from South Africa. I've got a history in training close to 5,000 to 6,000 rural men and women entrepreneurs in business entrepreneurship, building a business online, and of course, building out, the product, for their vertical markets. So over the last 10 years, that is what I've been involved in on a voluntary basis. But I've always been an entrepreneur that's been looking for, I wouldn't say the next big thing, but something that makes a real difference in people's lives. I've got tremendous passion for Africa, and I do think that Africa can grow its economies from inside. So I've started this forward, just to kind of spice things up a bit. And a lot of these things, we've discussed this during the last 2 days, yesterday morning, through to the afternoon, and of course today, during our discussions, we've highlighted, some of the key factors, and it'll probably still come up as well in terms of how do we accelerate the growth of technology, blockchain, and the usage of these platforms within the African landscape. So there are a number of things, that we can look at, which is education, accessibility, infrastructure, opportunities for market entry, lack of investment into small business, high banking costs, communities are unbanked or underbanked, and this is financial inclusion. Now, we understand in the African landscape, not everyone has the ability to get banked, and this is an infrastructure problem, it's an educational problem. And when I say educational, I don't say it's very wide. Education is very wide. I say financial education. Not everyone understands what finance is all about, and we need to be the pioneers in showcasing how finances can be changed for the individual person on the street, the middle class family, the mom and dad that goes every day to work, and of course, the business owners. How do we create opportunities for them for market entry, be it physically or online? We've seen with COVID, the remarkable change in online business, the growth of it. But with that, we've also seen the decrease of our technology sphere. As online business increased, our bandwidth of our technology decreased. How do we deal with all of those things in terms of the new age going forward in the next 10 years and making sure all of these things fit together so that both people can experience economic growth and socioeconomic development or advancement in rural areas as well as the metropolitan areas. So I'm just going to give a bit of a background on Kinesis. So Kinesis was founded by Allocated Bullion Exchange, which is basically the world's foremost electronic exchange for spot physical precious metals. It was founded back in 2011. And over the past decade, the better part of the best decade, Allocated Bullion Exchange CEO Thomas Coughlin and his staff members worldwide worked on building out infrastructure, critical infrastructure, such as storage, physical bullion suppliers, the vaulting space, and also building out their own trading metal desk for your institutional investors and traders in order to trade their precious metals. Also, ABX, Allocated Bullion Exchange, are pioneers in the precious metals industry. Whatever goes on in the precious metals industry, they know about. It is just, one thing that I can say about Allocated Bullion Exchange. Anything that's happening in Africa, anything that's happening in South America or elsewhere in the world, we have a clear indication as to what the trends are and what the world is moving towards. Then there are some critical integrations happening with the Deutsche Börse, as well as the European Commodity Clearing House. So this is important for precious metals and for ABX and Kinesis, because this will give us a major liquidity, leverage, market leverage, also precious metal supply into our system. And just give us a better scope in managing how our reach in the precious metal space. So this is enough about Allocated Bullion Exchange. Now we go to Kinesis, and why does Kinesis exist? Now, Kinesis was formed by Allocated Bullion Exchange about 3 years ago. Our CEO, Mr. Thomas Coughlin, just looked at the marketplace and decided to create a system which is differentiated from Bitcoin, Ethereum, and also other players within the market, and therefore created a monetary system. The Kinesis team used the Stellar blockchain, the legacy Stellar blockchain network, and developed an advanced proprietary blockchain network that would run the entire Kinesis digital currency suite. So basically, we've got two digital currencies at a stage, which is actually digital assets. And this is gold and silver, KAU and KAG. Now, the difference between our gold and silver is that it is not backed by gold and silver, because there's a big difference between backed and allocated. By backing, it means that you've got a coin value lying within an exchange, and then you hope, as with USDT, that there is a underlining or underpinning value that's given to that gold or to that USD or to that coin. In our case, the gold and silver is physically allocated one-to-one to the actual coin, and it belongs to the individual that purchases the coin. So it is basically a situation where we give ownership of precious metals to the actual individual, be it an individual, be it an institutional investor, or any person that makes use of our system. As I've explained just now, we've got the one-on-one allocated physical gold and silver currencies, but we've changed this a bit. Typically and traditionally, gold and silver does not have any yield whatsoever. Now, we have created a solution within our Kinesis monetary system which pays out a yield based on participation within our infrastructure. In other words, money is all about velocity. So imagine, for argument's sake, Shemezi sits in Nigeria, I sit in South Africa, I've got an Apple, and he's got 1 naira. Now, he wants the Apple, and he wants to spend it with these naira. As soon as you start sending money over to me, okay, so it comes to me one time, I give him the Apple, he gives me the naira. So now what we've done is we've taken the blockchain and we've sped up the process in terms of how quickly we can interchange an Apple for a naira and vice versa. And out of that, there's a transactional value that occurs. So instead of using 1 day to do 1 transaction, we can use 1 day to do 10 transactions for which each transaction will have a transactional cost. That transactional cost goes into a yield pool. Now, the yield pool is basically of all the transactions within the network and all the velocity within a network goes into that pool and is then redistributed back into the participation of the ecosystem or of the monetary system. In other words, the individual with a Kinesis wallet, who's trading or sending his funds or using it for for spending, buying clothing or buying a car or buying a toffee apple, whatever the case might be, that is where these yields can be or where these yields are generated and redistributed to the actual individual. So you can spend it on your Kinesis debit card. We've got our Kinesis exchange where you can take your KAU and KAG and basically trade it against BTC, USDT, Ethereum, Euro, and USD as well. Of course, I think many people will ask whether these metals or whether we have auditing that happens on the metals we claim that's in the vault. Yes, we do auditing on all of those things. In fact, we've done our first auditing earlier this year by a third-party auditor, and it is accessible on our website. And this will show all the gold and silver lying within our vaults, which belongs to the people that created the gold and silver currencies. So, and that brings me to another point, of course. The Kinesis currency suite, the KAU and KAG, there is not a maximum number of coins on the market. These coins needs to be created, and that is created either by what we call institutional minting or individual minting. Now, minting is a process where an individual will load fiat into our system and mint the equivalent value of USD or Naira value or Rand value or whatever fiat currency they're using to the gold or silver price, which means that you mint all of that new currency into existence. Now, this is important because the actual cost, the actual price of the coin will never decrease or increase based on the activity on the exchange, but it will stay constant and have a very tight spread on our exchange. So you won't see, the typical Bitcoin, one day it falls $100, the other day it goes up $300 and it goes down $1,000 again, etc. But you'll see a constant, very tight spread, which makes it easy for people, to do quick, short type of tradable, depending on your model as individual, but you can do quick, short trades. And build up your income or your holdings based on those smaller and shorter trades. Now, the other interesting thing about the system, and I think this is also where we look at Africa for argument's sake, is in South Africa, before the end of this year, we are hoping to deploy in 134 communities, agricultural communities, with about between 20,000 and 250,000 community members. But there's one need within these communities, and this is, the need for their own financial systems, their own wallets, their own, because every community, have a different way of doing things. One is a cotton farmer, the other one is a poultry farmer, the other one is a maize farmer. But collectively, they have their businesses. So what we have done is with our partners, African partners actually, is to design a system which will make a specific community their own central bank. And this is where Kinesis fits in so brilliantly. You don't have to have the actual central bank that plays a role within Kinesis, but you have all of these smaller communities that becomes their own central bank, minting their own currencies, and distributing their own currencies amongst, the workers and the entrepreneurs and the business owners, within those communities. So this is one exceptionally amazing type of initiative that we are busy doing. And, this will certainly be one of those initiatives which we will take out of South Africa, and we will copy it, in Zambia, we'll copy it in Mauritius, go up into Nigeria, Congo, etc., etc. So this is what makes an impact in people's lives. So the next slide is basically just explaining, what Kinesis as a full circle monetary system means, and all the elements and functions that builds this monetary system. So yeah, on the left hand side, you have your Kinesis partners and distribution partners. And this is basically your liquidity providers, your white labelers, sorry, your merchants, influencers, network marketers, whatever you name it. Those are the individuals that will become involved and are becoming involved in the Kinesis monetary system, and creating their own little central banks and exchanges. And it's exceptionally engaging and interactive, with all of the companies and individuals that's coming on board onto the actual system. So this slide explains exactly what the system represents. The Kinesis financial network, the Kinesis exchange, the Kinesis mint, that is where you mint new currency into the system, and the Kinesis commercial center, which then gives entrepreneurs and small business owners access to an international market. And we should probably go live with the commercial center very soon and start attaching all of the smaller entrepreneurs and business owners into this commercial center for them to have a market that spreads worldwide, and they've got access to social media, Facebook, and whatever social media platform there is, where they communicate their business offerings through to the mass global audience. Again, as explained earlier, on every transaction, Kinesis takes 0.45 basis points on all transactions. This, of course, goes into master fee pool, and then a proportional percentage is distributed back to our users, and this depends on the applicable yield. So applicable yield, we've got 4 different yields. The first yield is the Minter's yield. As explained earlier, the Minter's yield is basically yield which allows for user to on-ramp fiat currency or physical gold and silver holdings into our system. And when they do that, they are eligible for proportional 5% perpetual yield as long as they are Kinesis users. Then we have the depositors yield, we've got the referral yield, and we've got the holders yield. Now the holders yield is very an interesting proposition for the reason that during the time that we've had meetings with numerous pension funds and investors, etc., the holders yield is basically like a savings account where you, once you've minted your gold and your silver, you'll hold your gold and your silver within your wallet. And for as long as you hold your gold and your silver within your wallet, you will earn from the master fee pool, you'll earn a 15% proportional perpetual yield on the amount of time and amount of precious metals, gold and silver you have within your wallet. This is our exchange. It is live for everyone to access. We're currently increasing our capability of on-ramping fiat into our exchange. We've got in South Africa, we will be doing a hybrid type of system, which allows for a fiat wallet, a Kinesis fiat wallet, and a Kinesis exchange wallet. That will mean that you'll be able to on-ramp your funds via fiat wallet, purchase KU and KG on your fiat wallet as well. And also, once you've created your fiat wallet, an automatic wallet will be created for you on our blockchain wallet. So, it's going to be a very simple, easy way for people to manage both their fiat currencies and spend daily in fiat currency, but also a way of people accessing their blockchain wallet in order to do trading, sending via the blockchain, international remittances, etc., etc. So it's very intuitive and available, right now. You can download it on your iOS and Android and access it via via the website. So the reason for this is not so much so to talk about Kinesis in terms of a product presentation. That is not at all my intent. My intent is to talk about Africa and also the potentials that lies with Africa with reference to blockchain. So we all know by the discussions that we've had, and that's why we on this call, yesterday and today, to talk about blockchain, decentralized finance, what type of applications can make a difference in people's lives. So, in Africa, we've got this one advantage, which is, and earlier on, Shimezi's, presentation is, I think, if I'm correct, Africa needs blockchain more than blockchain needs Africa. And Shimezi, you might actually, disagree with me, but I think, blockchain needs Africa more than what Africa needs blockchain. And it's also applicable to the rest of the world. I think the world needs Africa more than what Africa needs the world. Shimezi, you there?
I agree with you. Yes. I do. I agree with you totally.
Yes. So basically, Africa has a history, and from a colonial past, and we all need to be very honest about it. which has disrupted, the processes and the growth of Africa. And it is time now to do so. I think, irrespective of whether COVID happened or did not happen, Africa is on the right track to achieve various milestones in terms of technological development, in terms of getting its industries together, becoming more of an active player and not a reactive player within the global economic landscape. Africa is the frontier. So what type of opportunities does blockchain have from a precious metals perspective within Africa? Now, if we look at, for argument's sake, artisanal miners. So we've got Ghana, Guinea, we've got Angola, the Congo, even South Africa, Kenya, and to some extent Rwanda. You've got your artisanal miners within this area, all trying to find a way to make use of their daily efforts in order to earn a living for their families. And we're talking here about honest livings. We're not talking about, militarized type of mining. We're talking about every day a man and a woman going into a river, going into a minefield and looking for gold or silver or any other precious metals in order to sell this to a middleman or to someone that will eventually export it to another country where it will be refined. Now, we all know that artisanal mining forms part of the socioeconomic sector in rural and developing countries. So we as Kinesis, what we have done is we have already started designing, putting together a value-added value chain for artisanal miners where they have their wallet, they do their daily mining, and then I've got a central place, a central office where they will go to and place their names, their details and so on via a QR code onto a centralized system. It will book, that they have been there, that they have delivered, the gold, in raw form, in doll form, to the actual office bearer. And from there, it will go into the blockchain. Now, this is very important because in many cases, gold and silver, especially gold, is used as an easy way to launder money, to get money out of the country. There are many, many stories where gold is used for this particular purpose. We are trying to get us under control and say, wait a minute, gold is not something that that should be financing money laundering or a military type of action against its people, especially from a country perspective. But it should be something that enhances the economy of a specific country. So if you look at the Congo, for argument's sake, you've got $38 trillion of true raw wealth lying beneath the soil of the Congo. But they've got absolutely no way of tracing that, that minerals, the diamonds, the precious stones and the precious metals that is within the Congolese soil. And yet again, we've had numerous discussions with top officials within the Congo, and also the Congo switchers, finance switchers, banks, and so on, to see how we can actually make use of the Kinesis blockchain and the Kinesis network in order to bring in that wealth, build vaults within the Congo, bring in that wealth and make that wealth part as a secondary monetary system for the Congo. And I think that is one very, very important aspect to be looking at. So instead of a country trying to create a stable coin out of their own currency, we can supplement their currency by creating an alternative precious metals, precious stone, or whatever asset, underlying asset, they want to use to allocate that currency in order to build their monetary system. So it plays a supportive role to while central banks on a daily basis makes use of the currency base in order to build financial inclusion and make these things accessible to individuals. And that is basically what the Kinesis monetary system is all about. It's all about bringing instability into a specific sector, into a specific country, but yet whilst bringing instability, we also bring the opportunity for upliftment, socioeconomic development, advancement, and accessibility to financial solutions, which can easily attach to a gold, silver, multi precious metals type of platform, which will allow Africa and countries within Africa to be able to pull out the true wealth out of their soil, distribute it equally within their communities, and make their communities ultimately successful. So that is from a precious metals perspective. And then when you come back to the actual countries. So early this year, before the COVID lockdown, what we have done is we have looked at how can we assist the taxman to bring in extra funds from the taxpayer. But there was a bigger thing there was a bigger type of point that was at play here. We had a meeting with the South African Revenue Service, and every single year the South African Revenue Service repays $2 billion to gold traders in BAT. And then there's a simple reason for why they are doing that. And it's a reason that they can't trace. They've got absolutely no control over that. So the gold trader will, for argument's sake, take jewelry. They will melt it into 1 kg gold bars, and they will fly to Dubai. They will find a buyer in Dubai, and they'll fly to Dubai. So go to Dubai, they make the supposed sale, they will come back to South Africa and submit a VAT invoice to SARS, and SARS will pay out, that will give the VAT redemption. Now, that is a major loss to a country, firstly. Secondly, it is fraudulent. And thirdly, there's absolutely no traceability as to whether that person actually did make a sell or where that gold is at this stage. So we have discussed how we can use the blockchain, our blockchain, with the partnership of various technology providers in building out an entire value chain for that process as well. And to be quite frank with you, it was an interesting discussion to see how we can actually change how the revenue services are able to track and trace, gold, silver, platinum, diamonds, which is very, very difficult. Well, diamonds especially is very difficult to trace in the traditional sense, due to the black market, and it also being used, to finance conflict in certain areas. So from that perspective, we have worked with the revenue services. We are working with central banks as well, because we want to find a balanced approach with central banks as well. And then, of course, going further, into the fintech space, Kinesis also founded this African fintech hub, or was one of the co-founders of this African fintech hub, through which we have contributed to setting up some of the current discussion papers and regulatory papers on what the central bank's African Reserve Bank needs to do with cryptocurrency, digital-backed currency, digital asset-backed currencies, etc., etc. And that we have also copied in, Mauritius. We are pushing it up into Zambia, Uganda, Congo. So with the promote financial inclusion within the African landscape. So Kinesis is an exceptionally massive project. We certainly didn't expect the level of interest that we have right now, the growth as well. We've had various companies contacting us over the last year, asking to connect our KAU and KAG into their payrolls. And we're busy with payroll solution as well, integration, which will allow an employer to mint new currency into the system and pay their employees either a small percentage in gold and silver, or the entire salaries in gold and silver. Further to that, we have done I've done major integrations with banks in Africa to have access to merchant POS systems. And we also have our own merchant POS system that we are currently deploying. So that will make, KAU and KAG payments far more easier, either by debit card or near field communication solutions. So in a nutshell, we have literally developed an entire monetary system which can be plugged and played anywhere in the world, be it East Asia, the USA, Europe, South America, or Africa. And what benefits one individual benefits the other individual in terms of participation. In a nutshell, ladies and gentlemen, that is Kinesis, and some ideas on blockchain, the precious metal space. And there are plenty more ideas as well. But in terms of timing, I think I've tried to explain as much as possible.
Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you so much. We really appreciate how detailed you have been.